What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel where we talk about Kratom use, drug use in general, mental health, exercise, so a little bit of physical health. More recently, been talking about the fact that I'm about to become a daddy again at age 47, which is still crazy to me. And sometimes I just tell stories about life as a person who's been addicted to nearly about every substance that you can think of. And I talk about all those things on here. I talk about a lot of things that many people would not want to talk about on a public platform where basically anybody in the world can click on your video and hear your stories about all the crap that you've been through and the crap that you've done. So the other day, my wife and I went and had our ultrasound to check on the baby, all that good stuff. I talked about the fact that we still don't know what the sex of the baby is because the baby is too big. We're 35 weeks pregnant, and usually when they're looking at the baby for anatomical purposes to make sure they have all their fingers, toes, and to look at their genitals to see, what the sex of the baby is, that usually happens somewhere around 18, 20, 22 weeks, somewhere in that range, where the baby is developed enough to where they can see all these things and the baby has formed all of these features, but they're small enough to where you can see the whole baby and you can see the different nooks and crannies in the curvature of the baby. And they were not able to do that because our baby is 35 weeks, so the baby is big enough to where they're just crunched up in there, over top of it, over the top of themselves, and so they're unable to see that sort of thing. So I want to talk a little bit about where I'm at with my Kratom use. Last Friday, I was down to 2.5 grams, which means that I took 4 capsules of Kratom this past Friday for the whole day, and that amount is what I took in the evening. So did a pretty good job over the past month and a half, 2 months of kind of working my way down to a very low dosage of the Kratom powder. But as many of you know, I've done a lot of 3-4 steps forward, then 2 steps back, 5 more steps forward, and then 3 steps back, and I've been doing that kind of constantly. I mean, to the degree to where I've still been able to get myself down to a much lower dose, but I have not completely come off of the Kratom yet. And that is in part due to the fact that I have days and times, specifically the weekend usually, where I take those steps back, as I was speaking of, and on Saturdays and Sundays specifically, I haven't really been paying much attention to how much Kratom I've been taking, and I've just been kind of taking whatever I felt like taking, to be honest with you. And then when the weekday started back and I was going back to work, then I would cut it back down, to a lower amount. And the problem that I see with that is if you're not completely off of the Kratom, and if you are, because what I'm doing is if I go 2, 3, 4 days straight and I'm taking like a lower dose of the Kratom, and I put a stretch of a good 3-4 days together on that lower amount of the Kratom, then my daytimes will start to feel pretty good. I'll start to feel like I'm leveling out a little bit, like I'm starting to bounce back from where the Kratom kind of suppresses all those mood chemicals and stuff like that when you come off of it. Because if you don't know, Kratom is giving you a false sense of mood and euphoria. It's kind of it's fake. You're forcing it. You're cheating to get that boost in mood. Those are not natural chemical processes that are allowing you to get that elevated mood. So it's kind of being forced. And so what happens is when your body senses that extra dopamine and that extra serotonin, being left out into your chemical synapses in your brain, then what happens is those dopamine receptors and the opiate receptors and all that, they began to manufacture less of the dopamine. And then when you abruptly stop taking, or you begin to taper and you're coming down off the amount of kratom that your body is accustomed to having every day, your body's reaction to that is, well, now it doesn't know what to do, because you've been pounding it constantly, pounding it with this excess of kratom and this mood enhancer that has caused your body to kind of, even shut off some of your dopamine receptors temporarily, because you're getting so much of it. You're getting so much of an unnatural dosage of it. And then when you stop, your body's ability to manufacture that dopamine and those feel-good chemicals that allow you to have good energy, good mood, all that stuff is down here. Whereas before you ever started taking kratom, your mood, your ability to be able to, manufacture dopamine, anything that was a feel-good chemical, serotonin in your body, your baseline may have been up here. Well, as you start to take more and more kratom day by day, your body's reaction to that is to start naturally producing less and less dopamine to account for this huge, massive amount that is being flooded into it every day by taking the kratom. So when you go to stop, whereas your baseline for mood and energy originally was up here, when you go and you stop taking kratom, your baseline for mood chemicals and dopamine and serotonin, stuff like that, may be down here, which is the reason you have the kind of like anhedonia, like you're low energy, you're kind of depressed, like low mood, that sort of thing. Believe it or not, this is not depression, as people like to call it. It feels like depression. But it's actually a temporary condition that you yourself have caused and manufactured in your own body by steadily, daily dosing on that kratom, which is increasing all these mood chemicals. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical physician by any stretch. So, this is my rudimentary way of explaining this. So hopefully it makes sense to you, but that is it in a nutshell. And I have found, like, for example, 2 days ago, when I took a day off of work so we could go, check on the baby, get the ultrasound, all that stuff done. And, when I'm off like that, we were a little bit stressed out, obviously, because we haven't been to the doctor for the first 7.5 months of this pregnancy. And that is very nerve-wracking. The fact that she hasn't gone to the doctor to get this baby checked on, and here we are just living our life as normal, without any prenatal care whatsoever. And so that's a stressful situation. So, the other day when I was off and we did all these things, like, well, I'm not working, this, that, and the other. So I got me some kratom, obviously. I went and got me a couple of kratom drinks, not extracts, but I got me like a couple of the kratom sodas. I drank myself a kratom tea earlier that morning, just to kind of help lift my mood and relax throughout the day and stuff like that. The problem is when you do this 4 or 5 steps forward and then 2 or 3 steps back, like I'm doing, it kind of keeps you on this like roller coaster where like you're up for a day or two, then you're down for 2 or 3 days, and then you're up for 2 or 3 days, and then you're down for 2 or 3 days. And your mood is just, there's no consistency. My mood is up here 1 or 2 days when I'm taking the Kratom. But when I binge on the Kratom like that, and then I come off of it, and then I'm facing a day or two where I'm just like, blah, blah, boo-hoo. Everything sucks. My mood is bad. I feel sad. I feel depressed. I don't have any energy. I don't feel like doing this, that, or the other, blah, blah, blah. So, this is a mistake that I am making throughout this process. And I know for me, a lot of it is just an excuse to, I'm addicted to the Kratom, you know, so it's an excuse to stay on the Kratom is all it is. And, you know, I'm one of those people that, well, you know, if I can take it responsibly, why not just keep taking it? And that is part of the problem. Because part of the problem for me, what I'm doing is, like on Saturday and Sundays, or I'll have certain random days where I'll take a pretty large amount of it. But then, the very next day, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm trying to pick right back up on my taper and only be taking, you know, 2-3 grams per day. Whereas on the days where I'm using more heavily, you know, I might be taking, you know, 15, 20, 25 grams per day. I mean, not of the powder, but in some form or another throughout, you know, with the Kratom teas and the Kratom sodas and different things. I've gotten, you know, Kratom gummies a couple of times, which are like Kratom extract gummies. So technically, I haven't been having like the MIT 45s, but I have had some Kratom gummies, which are apparently extract gummies. So I can't really say I've been completely off of the extracts, really, if I've been taking the Kratom gummies. But I'm starting to see that I'm definitely going to have to set some parameters for myself on my weekends. If I want to be able to completely come off of it, or even try out the idea of being completely off of the Kratom during the week, and then maybe just having some on the weekends. If I'm going to be able to do that and try that out, I'm going to have to make it to where I'm not using so heavily on the weekends. Because what's happening is I'm using heavily on the weekends. Well, then when Monday comes back around and Tuesday comes back around, if I don't want to feel like really down and depressed and low mood and low energy and stuff like that, then I'm starting my Monday and my Tuesday back up here again, taking a little more Kratom powder to kind of offset. Because Tuesday, by example, when we went to all our doctor's appointments and all that, you know, I had pretty good amount of Kratom that day. And then when I came back to work the following day on Wednesday, which was yesterday, you know, I actually brought some different forms of Kratom with me because I knew that I kind of binged on Tuesday. And so I knew that Wednesday was going to be like, oh, boo, you know, back at work. And on top of it, I've got the anhedonia, the kind of, you know, just not feeling that great because I don't have the same amount of Kratom in my system. And in addition to that, you know, everyone at my work is aware that I'm having a new baby. So everyone and their brother, as soon as I walk in, wants to come up and ask me questions. How'd it go? Did you find out if you're having a boy or a girl? How far along? How does your wife feel about it? How does your son feel about having a baby brother or a sister? You know, I had all these people, and I knew I was going to have all these people wanting to come talk to me. And I didn't want to be like a freaking zombie, like a knot on a log, like, yeah, that's okay, you know. And I mean, when you're having that feeling of kind of low mood and anhedonia and stuff like that, you kind of get like that, to be honest with you. It's just kind of hard to find pleasure in anything. It definitely affects your ability to be able to be sociable and kind of happy when you're interacting with people. And, you know, me, the type of person who's a people pleaser and, you know, enjoys interacting with people, I don't want to be that guy. You know, I want to be a person who people enjoy talking to and who's a somewhat animated person and friendly person. I don't want to be a down, depressed, like, you know, negative Nathan, like wow, 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 wow. Like I just am ready to go jump off a bridge every time I'm talking to someone. I don't want to be that way. So I end up taking more Kratom to kind of offset that. And so I did that on Wednesday. I took a little bit more, so I kind of threw my taper out the window. Well, now today, I've had it in my brain like, well, I got up this morning and I was like, I've done such a great job of coming down off of this taper or tapering down on this Kratom. Got to a point where I was only taking 2.5 grams per day and was still sleeping okay. So that's a really big improvement from where I was a few months ago. And then I'm thinking, you're a month away from having a brand new baby. Sleep is already going to be like this when that new baby comes. That's going to be a major transitional period for you and your wife. Like, dude, you need to go ahead and continue with the taper and, come off completely so that you can get your mood and your energy and your sleep and just your body in general, back to baseline and back to ground zero here. And I realized this morning that I really need to do that. And so today I'm back on my taper again. So I haven't taken any Kratom today so far, and I'm struggling. Because I had Saturday, Sunday. I didn't take a lot on Monday. I did pretty well on Monday. I only took maybe 3 to 4 grams of Kratom on Monday, so I did pretty well on Monday. But then Tuesday, I was off work because we had all our doctor's visits and stuff to check on the baby, and so I took a bunch on Tuesday. I've already explained Wednesday when I went back. I knew everyone was going to be asking me. It was also my birthday that day. I was like, oh, you have any excuse when you're an addict. Well, I don't want to be miserable on my birthday, So of course I took some, a decent amount more yesterday. And now I've realized that I'm starting to kind of slip down the slope again. If we talk about it being a slippery slope, I've realized now that I'm starting to lose traction again. I'm starting to kind of backslide, and I'm like, no, you've worked too hard. You've put too much time together on this taper to backslide like this. So this morning, in light of everything I have going on, especially, I don't want to be doing this when the baby is born. So I made the decision, like, no, dude, get back on your taper. You're going to have to flip this thing around. You're going to have to put together some more consecutive days where you're tapering and where you're just, ultimately coming down off of the Kratom altogether. And so that's what I'm doing. But like I said, feeling kind of down today. The anhedonia is a real thing, man. I've been having trouble today, like kind of remaining positive about things and, being somewhat encouraged about things. I've been, thinking kind of in a negative sort of light about what's going on and baby and, worried a little bit about finances and how things are going to be different in my life and this and that and the other. And what I should be thinking of is, what a blessing it is, that I'm going to be having a child, and that is a blessing. And to be able to have it with my wife, who is my soulmate, is even a bigger blessing. But it's kind of tough to see it that way with, my current state of mind. So I guess the moral of this video and the moral of this story is you kind of have to get to a point where either you're on it and you're going to be resigned to just staying on the Kratom, or you're off. And you're going to have to agree with yourself to come off of it altogether. Because I'm finding, at least the way I've been doing it right now, I'm trying to play both sides of the fence. I want to come off of it. I want to lower my tolerance. But at the same time, I want to still be able to take it and enjoy it when I want to be able to take it. And I'm doing a lot of this right now, especially my mental state and my mood. I've been experiencing a lot of that, and that's tough, man. That's a tough place to be. And so just being honest that a little bit discouraged by that. And I think that it has taught me a lesson that, hey, dude, you're gonna have to do one or the other. You know, you can't do the you're on the bandwagon, then you're off, then you're on, then you're off. You're either gonna have to accept and resign to the fact that, okay, I'm just gonna be a Kratom user, and I'm just gonna continue using Kratom. Because I can tell you now, I could make that decision, and I could start taking 4 capsules every morning, 4 capsules every afternoon at lunch, and then take 4 or 5 capsules in the evening, and then I'd be good. I could just do that every day for an indefinite amount of time. And if I did that, and if I agreed with myself to do that, then my mood would pretty much stay like this. It would pretty much stay like this. But then I will be a slave to something. I will be hooked into something. I would always have to have that something on board or in my possession, or then I'm down here. Then I'm down here. And that's a shitty feeling, man. That's a shitty feeling. You know, what if I want to go somewhere? What if I want to go on vacation? What if I want to go to a party somewhere, or, you know, drive out of town, and what I have to have Kratom with me everywhere I go, literally. Every time I get in the car to go somewhere, or I go on a vacation, or I have to think about having Kratom with me, or I'm going to be depressed and physically feeling like shit for 5 days. I mean, is that where I'm at? You know, and that's just the truth, and that's kind of where I'm at. You know, that's where my headspace is, unfortunately. I know it's kind of messed up, but you know, I keep it real with you guys. And so that's what I'm gonna do today. You know, I'm gonna take probably about 3 grams. Like I said, I've been kind of going ham for the last 2 or 3 days. About the last 3 out of the last 4 days, I've been using much more heavily. So if I don't take probably at least 3.5 grams today, I'm probably not going to feel that great tonight, and I may have trouble sleeping. I'm already having trouble sleeping. My wife is 8 months pregnant, and she was up probably 4 times last night. She's getting to that point in her 3rd trimester where she's starting to get pretty uncomfortable, and she's up a lot, and her stomach is bothering her, and she's nauseated, and, you know, just all this stuff. So my sleep is already a little, you know, and I don't need an up and down relationship with Kratom to be further affecting that. So I'm gonna have to do what I have to do and keep it about 3 grams today. Same thing tomorrow. And it sucks because this Saturday my wife has bought my son and I tickets to the UFC here in Charlotte. So I'm going to the UFC on Saturday. I'm super excited about that. Obviously, I don't want to feel like shit when I'm going to the UFC, so obviously I'm probably going to take some Kratom with me. But I can tell you now, this coming up Sunday, I'm going to do my best to completely not take any Kratom whatsoever, except maybe a little bit at night, you know, to help me sleep so I don't go through any nighttime withdrawals. And hopefully, you know, that'll set me up to where, you know, I'm bouncing back a little bit quicker when this upcoming week starts. And starting next week, when this upcoming week starts, I'm going to try to be Johnny on the spot every day with that taper, and, you know, making sure that I'm able to chop that down and get myself at a point where, you know, my mood is just not doing this, you know, by the time my baby is born, because I don't want that to be part of my life at that time, and I don't want that to be a struggle. So anyway, thanks for listening to me bitch and complain. I appreciate it. Leave a comment down below. You know, let me know where you're at with your journey, or if you have any other thoughts and comments on what I've said here today. And subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. All right, peace.